It's kind of wild when you think about it. Your body's hormonal cycle is basically its own biological operating system. It's got its own schedule, its own commands, the whole deal. Well, hormonal contraceptives are these incredibly sophisticated tools designed to get in there and, well, kind of hack that system. So let's break down exactly how they pull it off. All right, here's what we're going to cover. First, we'll look at the body's natural command structure. Then, we're diving into three completely different hacking strategies: the system override, the gatekeeper, and long-term suppression. And we'll wrap it all up by talking about why knowing which strategy is which is so important.
Okay, first things first. Before we can even talk about modifying a system, we've got to understand how it runs normally, right? So let's take a peek under the hood at the body's natural hormonal command and control center.
Think of it like a chain of command, starting at the top. It all kicks off in the brain, in the hypothalamus, which sends out these little signals called GnRH. Those signals are like memos sent down to the pituitary gland, telling it, hey, release FSH and LH. Those two hormones then travel down to the ovaries and get things going. But here's the most important part. The grand finale is this massive surge of LH right in the middle of the cycle. That surge is the final go command that triggers ovulation. That's the key event.
So, now that we know the natural sequence of events, let's look at our first strategy. I like to call this one the system override. It's a pretty direct approach that uses a combination of hormones to send a loud and clear stop signal right back to the top of that command chain.
And the tools for this particular job are combination oral contraceptives, or COCs for short. The name kind of gives it away. They use a combo of two hormones, an estrogen and a progestin, which is just a synthetic version of progesterone. This 1-2 punch is what gives this strategy its power. And boom, here's the main target in action. On the left, you see that critical LH surge we just talked about, the spike that gives the green light for ovulation. Now look to the right. On combination pills, that surge is just gone. It's completely flattened. No surge, no ovulation. It's that direct.
So, stopping ovulation is definitely the main event, but COCs are actually playing three-dimensional chess here. The primary move is shutting down FSH and LH to prevent ovulation, but they also add a couple of backup plans. They thicken cervical mucus to act as a roadblock for sperm, and they thin the uterine lining. It's a really comprehensive approach. Okay, this all sounds incredibly effective, but that estrogen component, well, it's not for everyone, which leads to the very logical next question. What are your options if you need a strategy that doesn't involve estrogen at all?
And that brings us right to strategy number 2, the gatekeeper. This method uses what are called low-dose progestin-only pills, and it takes a totally different tack. Instead of always focusing on shutting down ovulation, this one is all about creating a really effective physical barrier.
And this is exactly who this strategy is often for. These progestin-only pills, or POPs, are a go-to option for women who can't or shouldn't take estrogen, maybe because they're breastfeeding, have a history of certain types of migraines, or because they're a smoker. Now get this, because this is the key difference. Unlike that system override, these low-dose pills only stop ovulation in about 60% of cycles. So you're probably thinking, wait, how does that work then? If it's not reliably stopping the main event, what is its main job? This is where the whole gatekeeper name comes from. The real magic of POPs is that they make the cervical mucus super thick and hostile to sperm. It creates this physical barrier that's just incredibly difficult for them to get through. It's less about stopping the egg and more about making sure nothing can get to it in the first place. And this brings us to the catch. That mucus thickening gatekeeper effect, it's temporary. It really only lasts for about 24 hours. This is why timing is absolutely everything. You have to take that pill at the same time every single day to make sure the gatekeeper never leaves their post. So, we've seen a system override and a gatekeeper. Now let's get to our third and final strategy, long-term suppression. This one also uses only progestin, but we're cranking up the dose. And that higher dose allows it to do what the low-dose version can't: consistently and reliably shut down ovulation for the long haul. So how does it do it? Well, with that higher dose, it has enough power to go right back to the very top of the command chain. It reduces those GnRH signals from the hypothalamus, step 1 of the whole process. It basically tells the brain's command center to just stand down. And the result is that it prevents ovulation in pretty much everybody. This strategy is all about long-acting methods. The two most common are the injection, which gives you 3 months of coverage, and the subdermal implant, which is this tiny little rod that goes under the skin of your arm and can work for up to 3 years. For a lot of people, that convenience is a total game changer. Okay, 3 very different strategies, right? A system override, a gatekeeper, and long-term suppression. Now we need to connect the dots, because different mechanisms and different hormones mean you're dealing with a totally different set of rules and, yes, risks. So for that first strategy, the system override with COCs, the main things to watch out for are all related to the estrogen. It's generally a no-go for anyone with a history of blood clots, certain cancers, very severe migraines, or liver issues, because the estrogen can create some really serious problems. And I have to call this one out specifically because this is a huge deal. For smokers who are on combination pills, the risk of developing blood clots isn't just a little higher. It's 3 to 6 times higher. That is a massive increase and something you absolutely have to be aware of. And this right here is a perfect little cheat sheet of everything we've talked about. You've got your COCs using 2 hormones to stop ovulation with those estrogen risks to keep in mind. Then you have the low-dose POPs, our gatekeeper, using just progestin to thicken mucus, where timing is everything. And finally, the high-dose progestins, also just progestin, but powerful enough to stop ovulation and delivered in long-acting forms. So if you take away just one thing, let it be this. Hormonal contraception isn't just one thing. It's not one size fits all. It's a whole toolkit of different strategies. The system override, the gatekeeper, long-term suppression, each one hacks the body's operating system in a fundamentally different way. Understanding the how is so crucial for making informed choices right now. But it also gets you thinking, doesn't it? As our ability to interact with our own biology gets more and more sophisticated, what does the next generation of these strategies even look like? What's next on the horizon?